Hello, Natalie. So I think if we can turn off our microphones for now, we'll be able to hear just a little bit better. Right. I would like to present to you Anastasias Chevtchenko. Anastasia is an urban anthropologist, and she's working on her PhD. Her research specializes in the Monegasque culture of Monte Carlo. She's also the founder of Le Classe, and it's an organization for training and development of corporate cultures, and intercultural relations and communication. So I'm thrilled to have her with us today. So Anastasia, take it away.
Yes, thank you very much, Cindy. Just a small correction. Monaco is quite often associated to Monte Carlo, but my research is about everything but Monte Carlo. My research is about Monegasque culture, which is quietly overlooked. And when I start to say that I'm researching Monegasque culture, I have two reactions, or just surprise, what, sorry, what? Or the second reaction, people start to laugh. So, and that's not really what I'd like to have as an outcome. So that is why I do my research. And I would like to thank everyone who joined us here today. I understand that now I have to share my screen, yes? I will try to do it. Yes, so the screen is shared, and we can start talking about our today's topic, burning boats and building bridges, the role of rituals in the construction of cultural identity. So let's situate ourselves. Monaco is a microstate. In the beginning, I would like just to say two more things. How will we proceed today? So I will speak in general about cultural identity, about the sense of belonging. Then I will speak about ritual. What is ritual, and how one ritual can participate hardly in the construction of cultural identity. Then we will proceed to the rooms, because I have a question to you, and after rooms we will have a general discussion. So that's an organizing part. But let's situate ourselves. Monaco is a microstate. It's the second smallest country in the world, just 2 square kilometers on the French Riviera. It's surrounded by France and just quite near Italian border. The House of Grimaldi, with few interruptions, have governed it since 1297. So for the majority of Monegasques, and when I say Monegasques, it's not just locals, it's not residents like me. When I say Monegasques, it's people who hold a passport. Nationals of Monaco. It is indisputable that the Prince Albert rules the country by the grace of God, with motto Deo Juvante, with the help of God. And as I think all of us who is here, I've read dozens, if not hundreds, of articles and books on the intercultural topic, but nowhere and never I've seen anything about Monegasque identity and culture, despite of what I just told. It's a separate country with a ruling monarchy since 1297, so it's one of the oldest monarchies in the world. And I decided to scientifically research if Monegasque identity exists or not, because we never know what will be the outcome of the research. So, and what I'm facing now, that even ethnologists and anthropologists are skeptic. I just came from Czech Republic, where I've participated in a huge congress of ethnologists. We have around more than 200 of round tables at the same time. And I was in a room with a colleague, ethnologist from Italy, and we were discussing my thesis. And he told me, oh, yes, how interesting. But actually, what are they? Mostly French or Italians? So these are people who are always other people around Monegasque, people denying to accept that there is a national identity and sense of belonging. So PhD is a wonderful adventure. I started to research. You never know what outcome it will give. And in some moment, you know, in some moment you think, no, I will never be able to finish. But scientific research teach us to look at obvious things from a non-obvious perspectives, and we should be good at posing questions. So I've started my research from two obvious factors, which you see on the screen, that the constitutional monarchy on the one side and Catholicism as the state religion. It's not, it's a state religion, Catholicism in Monaco. So these two factors should shape nation's cultural identity, and the interplay between religion, power, national identity, and sense of belonging is particularly intriguing. But what is identity and what is sense of belonging? Because to start thinking about how is it constructed, we have to understand what is it? What is it? And it's important to know that feeling of belonging to a nation and the concept of cultural identity are not always intertwined. One can possess a specific cultural identity, but may not have a sense of belonging at all to a nation. In fact, they may consciously distance themselves from it. So these two concepts were researched by thousands of people, and cross-cultural specialists in the middle of last century made it practical, made it functional, implemented, applicable. And today we are for sure talking about identities and everything which is around this topic in plural, without contesting the idea of multiple identities. When we're talking about the cultural one, I suggest to define it as patterns of behavior and thinking that allow individuals to navigate within their own cultural group. Now in France, you know, we have some problems. If you watch internet or television, you see that there are people who burn in Paris and big cities, and there are people who would like to make Muslim prayers in schools, and there are tensions between people. There are really tensions between, it's very easy to say between right and left, but it is not true. On the side of those who are advocating against, and they are not necessarily extreme right, we can hear that these actions do not represent French identity. And there is a video, I will not, you see the cover of the video, I will not play it, I will not play it to you, but in this video, this man who you see on the right, he's advocating for French identity. And this video is a symptom. In biography of this man in Twitter, we see came from abroad, became from here. He's advocating for the French identity, and he's arguing with everyone who says, but I'm a French citizen. I'm French. I've been born in France. So this is a huge question. And what is identity? Let's just go into etymology of this word. Synonyms for the identity is sameness, integrity, equivalence to something. Identity goes far beyond the law of citizenship. It is something much, much greater. It means being proportionate to other members of society who share your identity. And these form the basis of a person's worldview, taste, and judgments. And you see on the left, there is a cover of book of Pierre Bourdieu. This is one of the most well-known French anthropologists who actually wrote on this. Stilization of your own lifestyle conforming or deviating from accepted norms, what we refer as savoir-vivre, value orientations, and the distinction between good and bad, oneself and others. So, but what we can once again said about identity, individuals may not consciously recognize their cultural identity. And we don't have to think about identity as about people who just hold their passports. The second book, which I put here, it's Hammerich and Richard Lewis, who I'm sure you all know. They refer to this as fish can't see water. In other words, a carrier of cultural identity is unlikely to be aware of their cultural code unless they actively engage in understanding it, such as when adapting to a foreign culture. This idea is not new and can be traced back to Aristotle and Pythagoras, who Aristotle was telling about music of spheres, which can't be seen. So, but if we agree that every individual has a cultural identity, but may not be aware of it, we can contrast it easily with conscious sense of belonging to a community. Sense of belonging is always a conscious choice. You choose to belong to this community. This sense of belonging can be an expression of one or multiple cultures, forming a hybrid, distinct new culture within the community. As Philippe Blanchett is also a French anthropologist, defines it in Sentiment d'appartenance. It's an article, not a book. It is the individual awareness of sharing one or multiple collective identities and thus belonging to one or multiple reference groups where the individual has assimilated several identity traits like values, behavioral and interpretive models, symbols, collective imagination, shared knowledge. But now we come to the question, which was in the topic of today's presentation. How do we acquire this cultural identity? How it is constructed? And here we need to clarify what is a ritual. Ritual represents a form of symbolic action, whether performed individually or collectively, that reflect an individual's connection to the system of social relationships and values. In other words, rituals are social behaviors, even if it is performed in solitude by ourselves, even if it is performed when no one sees us. Rituals are often associated with religion, but it doesn't necessarily belong to it. There are religious rituals, ceremonies, as well as secular ones. There is a vast array of rituals categorized into various types. One of such rituals is ritual of transition. Also known as initiation ritual. This encompasses events relating to birth, death, marriage, the introduction of a child into religion, and their acceptance as member of this community. These tradition rituals involve a change in the individual's social status, and sometimes even in individual's physical appearance. For example, an unmarried person becomes married. It's changing of social status. A profound becomes a Muslim or Christian, change of social status. Changes in physical appearances, Jewish people who practice circumcision, or when new soldier is raising his hair. So these actions have a symbolic weight, even if behind this gesture lays in the beginning a pure practical reasons. For example, with a haircuts, it is easy to explain as a preventive measure against the transmission of lice. So These rituals can be collective or public, can be individual, religious, non-religious, and can revolve around specific dates or be tied to a particular event. And I consider rituals of individual faith as those that construct our cultural identity. These include prayer, these include vows, promises, and various forms of personal magic and superstitions. So as I'm making a research right now, I've had an opportunity to empirically prove and show how one ritual of burning the boat can play a major role in the construction of cultural identity and sense of belonging altogether. And it's truthfully a thrilling example of interplay between religion, politics, identity, sense of belonging, and the whole process of construction and culture, how a newborn child becomes a carrier of Monegasque identity. And I will show on this concrete example, and then we'll go into rooms and have a couple of questions to discuss. What you see on the picture is Saint Devota's feast. It's the patroness of the principality and the sovereign family, and it is honored during 2-day celebration. On January 26th, a symbolic boat is set on fire in the presence of princely family. This is due to the legend that approximately 700 years after the body of a martyr arrived to Monaco, there was an attempt to steal the precious relics by evil people. So they were stopped from this action. The Monegasque people punished them, and to assure that it would never happen again, they burned the boat of thieves, and the prince came from the Rocher, from his palace himself. He came down, he punished also thieves. So this is kind of connection of people and princely family and Monegasques to protect their saint. So in 2023, and before that also, I engaged in ethnographic research of these celebrations. So, and particularly of this tradition to burn a boat. Because even if it's a religious holiday, I had a perception that people don't consider it as a religious one. They consider it more as a cherished, intimate celebration of a tradition. And so when the boat was burning, I've heard children whispering, "When can we go? When can we go?" And the parents who were there carrying these children, they were just promising they should let us in. Don't worry, you will go. So what happens within the seconds after official part is finished and the boat is burned to ashes, we witness bearers breaking down as children run and start searching for lucky nails. I will just show you. So as you can see, the children are searching for lucky nails in the boat's ashes. And the community's joint search for nails brings a unique sense of unity and festivity and excitement. A feeling of joy is in the air. Everyone is excited, and not only children, actually, some adults also. Me too. You can see on the picture, I found one. So, but what we see from the anthropological point of view here is not a collective search for lucky nails. It's a collective ritual of burning the boat, who gives to us one more collective ritual of collecting nails, which is actually a separate ritual. And this separate collective ritual, rich in symbolism and anticipation, serves as cathartic release for spectators, culminating in the joy of obtaining a protective talisman for the year. So if we go deeper and see this collective ritual of burning the boat, give one more ritual of searching the nails, which evaluated in the ritual of individual faith, preserving this talisman for the good luck for the whole year. So this was interesting enough to formulate a hypothesis that the celebration, which originally rooted in religious tradition, empathizing the spiritual aspect, over the year evaluated in the cultural heritage and burning the boat to secular and collective ritual has evolved to become a ritual of individual faith, thereby reinforcing its individual importance. So this public ritual influences the sense of belonging through the collective ritual, a searching for a lucky nail, and individual ritual of its subsequent preservation. But even more interesting for me was to test the research question: could this significance of this ritual be more of a discourse? You know, when people say, oh yes, it's very important for us, yeah, but it's more a discourse and metaphor than a reality, actually. That was the question that a lot of people are posing to themselves. So I've made a long research. I will not go into details. I will just say that I've read media coverage for 146 years of this celebration. I've made more than 60 profound, long interview with people who participated in the ritual. They were choosing not by participation, it was just average Monegasque people, but it came out that everyone in his life has participated in this ritual once or twice. So finally, just to make the long story short, the hypothesis was largely confirmed by this qualitative data and participant observation. The shift from collective ritual to individual ritual reinforced the sense of attachment to the tradition. There are Monegasques who always carry a nail with them in their pocket, in their car, in their scooter, in their handbag. So, and this is a ritual of individual faith. This makes them feel protected by the saint directly. So the answer was obtained. The answer is negative. It's neither a metaphor nor a discourse. It is a genuine sense of belonging. And this feeling is instilled from childhood. Parents who experienced participation in the ritual during their own childhood feel an obligation to bring their children to do the same at least once or twice. And according to them, this is about educating the proximity with the princely family. It also explains the story of the saint patron, and it instills their cultural belonging, their cultural identity. So the religious aspect of the event follows after this construction of the national part. And while the celebration of Saint Devota is deeply rooted in religious tradition, the active participation of the princely family suggests a closer connection between sovereign house, people, tradition, and feeling of belonging and national identity. So the main conclusion can be summarized as follows. The profound impact of the celebration is primarily determined by the ritual of individual faith. And this ritual plays a significant role in ensuring the popular viability of the tradition, maintaining its relevance. And by participating in these shared rituals, individuals reaffirm their sense of belonging and strengthen their connection to the cultural heritage. So what can it give to us? And intercultural experts, specialists, and people who are interested in understanding and building bridges. Just to summarize, in many cultures, I can't say in every culture, but I can easily say in many cultures, there are various rituals that hold significance and contribute to shaping one's cultural identity. And the rituals can vary greatly depending on culture, country of origin, specific tradition. For example, as I told, in some cultures, a coming of age ceremony of initiation ritual may define a person's transition into adulthood, or their responsibilities within the community. In other cultures, religious ceremonies such as baptism, confirmation play a significant role in defining one's identity for the future. It can also give a challenging situation when person starts to questioning his identity and starts to thinking, how did it influence who he is? Additionally, cultural festivals, weddings, funerals often have rituals that reflect the values and customs of particular community. And identity is not something in self. The carrier of cultural identity carries it with him when he moves abroad. That's the real cultural identity. That's what we take with us. That's what it is not possible to leave behind. And when individuals move to a different country, they will choose to carry certain rituals from their origin as the way to maintain their cultural identity and connection to their roots. The specific ritual taken may vary depending on personal preferences and the significances of the ritual within their culture. For example, someone from a particular culture may continue to celebrate traditional holidays and festivals, prepare traditional meals, or practice religious rituals in his new country. And this allows them to maintain this sense of belonging and preserve their cultural heritage, even when you live in a different cultural context. So I have questions now for further discussion. Actually, I have one demand. You know, making PhD and shifting to a scientific mode of thinking is quite difficult. You have to prove every word you say. And I have to prove what I see about Monegasque people. And I have a survey. It's a small survey of 7-10 questions. And I need people from different cultures, from different backgrounds to answer to this survey. And when Cindy and Victoria will send you like a debrief of these meetings, they will send you a link to the survey. And I will be extremely grateful if you can fill in this short anonymous survey. It will be extremely helpful for me. And I will be really grateful if you can fill it in and share around you. So to further discussion in rooms, I have 2 questions. What is the ritual in your country of origin that defines who you are? And what ritual from your origin did you take with you when you've moved to another country, when you've relocated? I think we should have 15 minutes, if Cindy can confirm this. I stopped sharing the screen.
Oh, I'm going to ask you to put up your last slide once more and ask people to take a screenshot so that they can remember the question when they get to their, that's the one. If we could just, if you'd like to take a screenshot, or if you have a better memory than mine, just remember the question for our breakout rooms.
2 questions are, what is the ritual or ceremony, which is almost as synonymous? I mean, there is no too much difference between 2 expressions in your country of origin that defines who you are. Think about it. And what ritual did you take with you when you've relocated? Because as far as I can imagine, in our society, in our association, almost everyone has relocated or moved to another place to live. So we should have, I would like to.
Yes, let's do that. I think that's a great idea. So you can go ahead and turn your microphones back on, all of you. Who would like to start? Bernd, please.
Yes, thank you. The thing that immediately came into my head was something that I remember from childhood. So I don't know if it defines me in any way, but I remember it. And I don't even know if the people in my area where I'm from in Germany are still celebrating it, but I think so. It's in November, just before Halloween, and I think it's now in competition with Halloween, or after Halloween, sorry. And it's about Saint Martin, so a saint who shared his coat with people in the street who in the winter who had nothing to wear, and so it's a bit like Halloween. So children go around from house to house, but it's a bit harder than Halloween because instead of saying trick or treat, they have to sing a song. So when I was a child, I had to sing a song, and then I got candy and sweets and stuff like that. So I find the origin of sharing I always found that very appealing, and so I think it's a nice. I don't know if the story is true, based on anything in history, but it's a nice story about sharing.
Do you still go around and sing songs as an adult?
No, I don't live there. I don't live there anymore. So I live in France now. So there is no such thing here.
And are there something that you bring with you wherever you are?
Certainly the memory of it, and I'm always, when I see Halloween celebrations that have now spread around the world a little bit, I'm always reminded of it. So it's a bit like a less American version of it for me, a more local version of it.
Yes, certainly the memory of it is quite touching, you know. It's quite touching, as you put it.
I can share my ritual. Sorry. So I come from Serbia, and we do have plenty of rituals that somehow, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that they make you feel like a part of community. So we do have also one of the rituals in which children go around the village singing songs to get something to eat. Also, this happens 4 times a year, and it is still kept in some villages, but many of the rituals, of course, die out with large cities. Children don't usually do that in large cities. But what is something that I think stays the most memorable for me is the burning of the oak tree on the 7th of January, which is our Christmas. And I think well, in our midst, it actually originated much before Christianity even came to the region. So there were a lot of oak trees in the region, and then every beginning of the year, we would do that, and we all gather now in front of the church. So many of our ancient rituals got a Christian element to it, and then but this really stayed for a long time, and I think this is one of the rituals that everyone gathers around. It's a very important one. And we also have for Easter the egg coloring, which I did everywhere I went. I couldn't help it. I just couldn't stand not coloring eggs on Easter. So we buy special edible colors, and then chicken eggs, we dye them in red for good luck and in other colors. And we do an egg fight, so with other members of the family. And then, I don't know, it's very nice if you win. There is no special prize, but it's like a small competition. So I would do that in Taiwan, in Dubai, everywhere I lived. I would like, sorry, I have to dye eggs for Easter. I know you don't understand, but we'll just have them together because this is important for me. So yeah, I do think it gives you this sense of belonging that you want to keep with you.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
When you do that tradition wherever you go, does it take you back to your childhood somehow?
It's,
To the memories that you did when you're doing it as a child?
we're still doing it in our family very much. So all of these traditions are still very alive. So no, I'm somehow honoring the present moment of what is, yeah, just you cannot step away from the tradition.
And I also have a question. You mentioned that red is for the good luck. Does other colors have a special significance? Because I've never heard about it.
It's unusual, yeah, because red usually in our culture doesn't always mean good luck, but for Easter, the egg coloring definitely. And then you dye one egg that is like a house savior, and you dye the egg and you hide it somewhere in the house so no one could find it. There are plenty of rituals that we have for Easter and Christmas, and they're all kept alive. So everyone in the house, usually in Serbia, have that one egg that they hid somewhere. And for some reason, it doesn't start smelling or anything after a while. So it's kept for a year, and then you exchange it with another red egg for good luck. And no, I don't think there are any other color significances, no.
This is very interesting because we could discover that we've got similar traditions. Yeah, and we also have very similar traditions when you were describing the Easter eggs and fighting and everything. So this is exactly what we have been doing in Ukraine as well. And I would like to join the discussion, but yeah, I agree that all of us have got a lot of different rituals and traditions around the year, and each season comes with a new ritual or new rituals and traditions, and there are so many of them. We can spend days just sharing the information about our traditions. But interestingly, that some traditions can be very new. For instance, the tradition to have the Vyshyvanka day in Ukraine. Vyshyvanka, this is, by the way, this is very similar to this embroidery that I'm wearing now. This day is a very new tradition. It was born in 1996, I think, only. So it's a very recent one. Every third Thursday of May, this is a special day in Ukraine when we try to get dressed in Vyshyvankas, and you go to work or to school, or so even to the shop, you just go in this national costume. This is not the only day of the year, but this day is specially dedicated. We've got also Vyshyvanka runs, and then, you know, the concerts and people coming together to do something just on this particular day to, you know, this is a record, for example, when people come together, and there are, you know, thousands of them, and they come together and they sing a song or something. And this is quite a new tradition. And also about the colors, I think that every color has got a special significance. In Ukraine, for instance, every color means something. Also for Easter eggs, every color means something. And there are even, you know, like tables when you can read this color is about that, this color is about that. Interestingly, that at this very moment, there is an exhibition, a very interesting exhibition in one of the museums in Kiev, and it's about the costumes, Ukrainian national costumes, and also Crimea Tatars costumes, because each region, like everywhere, I think in all the countries, each region can boast of their own costumes, their own colors, patterns, etc. And there was a very interesting excursion, and then again, I'm resonating with what Valentina has just said, that's interesting that people who live on borders, they share the same traditions. For instance, those people who live close to Romania, they've got almost the same patterns on their Vyshyvankas. People who live near on the border with Poland, they've got very similar. And interesting enough, I was never thinking about that, but that's interesting that the only border where there is no mix of these traditions is between Ukraine and Russia, because we do not have the similar patterns of our Vyshyvankas. And it has never been like that. Like, for example, if you take Lugansk or Donetsk region, which is on the border with Russia, and you take Russians next to this border. So the costumes are very, very different, actually. And that was interesting for me because, especially now, of course, that was interesting to learn. So I believe that rituals and traditions are very important, and they make our identity.
Victoria, what does the Vyshyvanka symbolize to the Ukrainian culture?
Vyshyvanka, we think that this is a spiritual and also material heritage, because Vyshyvankas, they've got different purposes, and there are different patterns that can be embroidered. For instance, if you would, it would be a Vyshyvanka that protects the person who wears. For instance, now when a lot of Ukrainians are fighting against Russians, moms and relatives sent to the front Vyshyvanskas with certain patterns that are meant to protect those people against the evil. Yeah. Or for instance, when a child is born, the Vyshyvanka is given to the child because the mom would like to have this embroidery of messages, special messages. For example, I would like to wish my child to be healthy, or to be wealthy, or to be with someone else, etc. So there are special patterns. When people get married, this is the same. The girls gives the Vyshyvanka to the groom, and then so they exchange Vyshyvankas. Also, the moms and dads they wear special types of Vyshyvankas. There is a Vyshyvanka for every purpose. When a person is very, very ill and he is, for example, in the hospital, there is a special Vyshyvanka for getting him well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I am ready to share. When you asked the question about the rituals, there were two memories that I had, and what is quite peculiar is that the memories were not from the childhood, but actually from adulthood. But in the moment when I realized the importance of ritual, and they were always when I was away from home. Like, I think that when you are breathing the air, you don't feel that it is so essential and necessary. So one of the traditions, rituals that we have is which I discovered how unique and and an identity building it is. I discovered when I was on Erasmus in Istanbul. Is the ritual that we are cultivating in Poland regarding the Christmas celebration. Poland is a little bit different because we are celebrating not Christmas, but Christmas Eve is way more important. And on Christmas Eve, we have a custom to begin the dinner with all of your family members with sharing the bread, but it's a very specific kind of bread. It is the very same bread that you are using in the church during Mass for the offering of the Christ on the altar. So we are sharing very similar bread between each other with sharing good wishes. And I discovered how it is quite an important part for me when I was abroad and I was trying to make a Christmas event, and no one except from one other Polish guy who was in the party could actually grab the concept. Like, it was, we were all people who were celebrating Christmas before, but no one had this part. So I really discovered that, for me, it is important. Not like everything else that was included in the party. And if someone had the same identity as I had, then we could share it, but with other people, it was very difficult. They didn't grab the concept. Like, okay, so we should share the bread and say what? Well, say good wishes. So say what? And that was very, very peculiar for for them and quite astonishing for me. And another was when I was visiting family friends in Tokyo, in Japan. It was a family who was taking care of me when I was a little kid. And I was turning 20 when I was revisiting them. And they were, because 20 is a very important age in Japan. It's the age of adulthood. And there is this ritual called Seijinshiki, so the adulthood ceremony at the beginning of the year. All of the youth is dressed in a very outstanding kimono and going to the city hall. And because I was not living in Japan at the time, so I couldn't attend it. So the family, these family friends were so concerned with the fact that I cannot participate in it. So when I arrived in summer, they said, no, we need to make the ritual for you because you arrived. So we need to dress you up. We need to make the seijinshiki just for you when you are here. So and it was just about wearing a gown and having an evening in a gown, but it was so important for them. Like for them, it was, a closure, a passage moment, even though it was not having a quite significance for me, but for them, it was very important to make it. So yeah, the two stories that I had in mind when you asked the question.
Oh, it's great. It's like a confirmation. It's really interesting.
Can you hear me now? Sorry. Can you?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Good. All right. Yeah, I'm Esther from Norway. I'm wondering what kind of ritual actually which has defined me. I'm not quite sure. There might be quite a lot, but as to the ritual which I took with me when I moved abroad, it's definitely, yes, Christmas. I tried to bring some tradition because, as you know, yeah, probably in Norway we love to celebrate Christmas Eve, 24th of December. So I brought with me that, but also the 17th of May is our Independence Day. And I think most Norwegians will take that with them when they move abroad. It's very different, I might say, it's different from quite a lot of other national days because it's not a military parade. We celebrate with parades with kids, and it's just lots of, how can you say, it's just a fun day with kids eating sausages and ice cream, and it's celebrating democracy, celebrating who we are. So it's a very nationalistic day with a lot of flags and everything. But I think I do take that, I have taken that with me. And if I haven't moved, sometimes I've lived in countries where we have had celebrations, perhaps parades in London, for example. We've had parades even in Florida, but sometimes I haven't had that chance. And then some of my international friends have made 17th of May for me. So they know that this was an important day for Norwegians. So they have made a flag, they made cake, and perhaps I was only Norwegian there. So they made sure that I celebrated the 17th of May. So I think that's the most important ritual for me when it comes to, yeah, and perhaps it defines me a little bit also because it's such a democratic way of, it comes to, also when it comes to equality in Norway, how important that is. It's probably that's why as well.
Mette, could you please tell everyone about the special dress that women wear?
Yes, we do have a special dress. It's called bunad, our national costume. The bunad, I should have shown you pictures now, of course, but the bunad differs from different parts of Norway. their different regions in Norway have their different bunads, and it's like national costumes you know from your own countries. And on the 17th of May and on other special occasions, we wear those bunads. Not all of us. I mean, it's very expensive, these bunads, but it's still you will see a lot of them on the 17th of May. Yeah. Mm.
I think we've got just 6 minutes before the end. Anastasia, would you like to jump in and just to summarize or something?
Yes, but if anyone has expressed themselves, I'm a bit lost. Cindy.
Yeah, I find this so fascinating because in my culture we have holidays and festivals, but I find that kind of all of them are, the thread of the tapestry is unraveling. And what might have been a 4th of July celebration for Independence Day is changing. People are not so enthusiastic about independence in the United States, or Christmas. People don't celebrate Christmas anymore so much, or Thanksgiving. You get the family together, and it's getting more and more difficult. So these traditions that we have, they're not very strong. And I find myself being in a foreign country, and I have no rituals, traditions, or anything, and I really miss it. And I don't really fit into the Italian ones because they're not mine. So I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I feel a little bit lost with that. Where do I belong? Kind of thing.
That's a good question.
That's funny, because I see that I have adopted new rituals by having moved in another country, and that's also maybe because I have kids, and that's something which is important for them, and then we do it as a family. So that may be one element. But one thing that I would think about, reacting to what you said, Cindy, is that I come from France. And I have always celebrated Christmas in big in my family. We really had 24th in the evening, and also the 25th were very important days with a lot of things that we were doing together. But I'm living in the Netherlands for already 23 years. And I mean, Christmas is seen here more like an imported celebration from the US. So some family will celebrate it, but it's just a dinner, there is no present. But what is very important here is Sinterklaas. And Sinterklaas is on the 5th of December. And that's something which we are very much celebrating, which I didn't know when I was young. So I have learned all those children's songs and things that were not part of me when I was a child. But it's something which is very celebrated at school with families. There is 1.5 months almost before the arrival of Sinterklaas that the kids have on television a news from what's happening for Sinterklaas coming from Spain until up to the Netherlands. And many things are happening on the way that the kids are thinking, my goodness, he's never going to arrive. So that's something which is living for a very long time until the day itself. And that's something which is now part of myself, actually. And it happened to me only half of my life when I was already 20 plus. But yeah, when I see it's living in the eyes of my kids, I mean, it looks like if I had it also when I was young. The only thing is that there are still some songs that I would not know, but I know the majority of them. So it has become part of my life identity. I mean, still making the difference between the two, that's something which arrived later on in my life, while Christmas was always there. And I have brought Christmas to our family, so they all know that when it's Christmas, we are never here in the Netherlands, but we are always in France with my family. And my husband is also now very much celebrating Christmas, and the kids cannot miss Christmas with the family. So that's, I mean, for them, it's also part of their identity fully from day one. And for me, it happened later on in my life, but it's also part of my identity now.
This is very interesting what you are saying, because I think that also in Ukraine, we have adopted a number of different holidays from other countries, and that was happening naturally. And some of them are celebrated now. They were never celebrated before, like the St. Valentine's Day. And the same is here with Christmases, because we've got 2 Christmases, 2 New Years, and we've got the St. Nicholas Day, which is much more important than, as you say. Anastasia, what about you, by the way? So you have not shared your rituals. So which rituals do you perform or continue to perform being in Monaco?
For me, it is the importance of 31st of December. For me, I'm celebrating, for me, New Year starts 31st of December. But I understand what Cindy was telling, because when you live, and I live abroad since 2008, and I understand that it's more and more difficult to stick to your habits and to your rituals and to who you are if you live in totally different environment. But still, I make a party on the 31st of December, and 24 of December. It's very important to me. I celebrate Christmas on 24th of December, but mentally, 31st is when I'm dressing up, is when I'm going out, making up, and celebrate it like yes, here is the real holiday for me. So for me, this shift is quite here in my life. The importance of the 31st, and the first years I was quite surprised. I thought that it should be in the whole world, the celebration of the 31st. I was thinking, like, how can they stay home on the 31st? I can't find some kind of entertainment in the city. Wow, what a strange people. It was so surprising. Yeah, but no, it is still there. So, but it's interesting what you've said about kids, and that's important because we are transferring to future generations the identity, and identity is constructed since we are young. So that's important to pay attention to traditions, to rituals, collective rituals of individual faith, and all kind of rituals, religious, not religious. It's up to you, but that defines us, fine. That defines who we are. So that was my take for today.
Yeah, and that's right. And also I was thinking that I was sharing the information about the new rituals and new traditions, and I was asking myself if in other countries also the new rituals and traditions are born these days. Because that's just, I mean, it's, to me, it's like a signal of the dynamic society. One of the rituals which has been in place here since the Revolution of Dignity in 2014 and the Russian invasion is that when a body of a soldier or a person who died for Ukraine is arriving to a town or a village where he lived, all the people stand near the road on knees to thank this person. Yeah, and this is a tradition that was born only like in 2014, but this is something which is when you see that, or when you watch this, or when you are present, you do not have words. But nobody says this tradition was born not because somebody has, initiated it, but that came naturally. So that's I'm thinking that it's not only religion, it's not only culture, but it's sometimes certain events that also serve as an initiator of a certain tradition, which is not necessarily the best one. Not the best one. The most is not the happy one. Yeah. But still there is a tradition because it becomes to be shared by many people in the country.
There are traditions who are initiated artificially, and that's the case of Vyshyvanka Day. And it's not bad. It's, for example,
it's not artificially. I'm sorry. No, I would argue with you. It was nobody issued an order. No power issued. It was a people's initiative, and now it becomes a global Vyshyvanka Day because it is celebrated globally everywhere on this day. And the initiator was by the way, was a student of a university, and then everybody just supported this idea. So it's not an artificial. I'm sorry.
No, it is initiated, as you told, by students, and this is the day which is boosting economy. On the other side, the gratitude, what you are saying, when people are putting down on their knees, this is a naturally born tradition, which is educating the sense of gratitude for the nation. So that's totally different traditions, but I don't say that one is more important than another. It's just.
Yeah. I was just saying about the new traditions, and I was wondering if in other countries also the new traditions are born, like it is happening in my country. I'm curious about that now. I was not thinking about that before, but now when you are sharing the tradition, I was thinking, okay, these are the traditions that comes from, from centuries. Yeah, but so then this is something that we have been preserving. But in Ukraine, there are a lot of new traditions. And then that was my question, my curiosity. If new traditions are born in other countries and other parts of the world these days.
For example, the Pride Month. The Pride Month. It's a new tradition which is today uncontestable.
What does it demonstrate, do you think?
Inclusion, unity.
Solidarity.
And the right of all people to have the same rights. Also, there are new traditions, for example, in Provence, which also, as Vyshyvanka Day, the traditions which were initiated by local communities, which are boosting economy. For example, the tradition, the lemon day in Menton is quite new tradition.
Anastasia, I'm sorry, but you cannot even compare those traditions. We also have wine days, etc., but you cannot compare this to Vyshyvanka or similar traditions.
No, it's just an example. It's just a local example.
Olive oil days also in Provence, when people are working with olives and try to make some olive oil. It's like quite a new tradition.
These are harvest festivals, and we have a harvest festival too. It's called Thanksgiving. It's just a harvest festival. I would like to thank all of you for this wonderful discussion, and you've really renewed in me the idea that I need to find some traditions. It's a glue that keeps you connected with other people too.
You can choose one out of what we have shared now, Cindy, to start with.
I find it very touching that the people greet the fallen soldier on a knee, and it's a tragic situation, but the glue that is created in the community by that gesture will never die.
Unfortunately, this is not the only tradition at the moment, but this is a different story.
No, but I'm
yeah. Would you like me to announce the next DMeetUp?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Because the next one will be on the 7th of August, I think. This is again Monday, the first Monday of the month, and it will be at 3 p.m. set. And we'll have the whole team next time, and this is the team of so-called RAS project. And this project was about this is a project that combines efforts of 2 organizations of Theatarians of the UK and Switzerland. I think that nobody was present at the previous DMeetUp. That was with the Polish expert and our colleague from Poland, and she was speaking about how to support refugees. This project was actually has been implemented now and was designed to think about refugees and temporarily displaced people, but only about volunteers. That's what we were talking about last time, that when we were speaking about refugees and temporarily hosted people, they are always in the focus of our attention, but we sometimes forget about the volunteers who also need support. So this project has been trying to balance this support and focus of attention on both those people who arrived to the host country, but also those people who have been supporting them and their mental health. So the title is actually how to support the cultural journeys of both refugees and volunteers. And we will have 4 or 5 people presenting this next time. So you're very welcome. We'll send the information, and please register and join us next time.
Thank you very much, Victoria. And thank you all, women.
Thank
your
you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.